Hello?
Under the dazzling surface of America's cities lies another world most people never notice. Beneath the Las Vegas casinos under the streets of Los Angeles below Seattle's rain-soaked overpasses, whole communities live hidden from view. For the rest of us, these tunnels and tent camps surface only in fleeting news stories, emergency raids, or short viral videos. Yet for thousands, they are home.
A lot of people move here thinking they're gonna become rich, and they end up losing it all and stuck on the streets.
Here, everyday life takes place in spaces never designed for human beings. Storm drains, freeway embankments, the fringes of parking lots.
I can't really say there's any plus side to living in the tunnels, as you can see. Waterfront property, the weather gets bad, go outside, but wherever you go, you really can't beat. I mean, there's no good thing about the tunnels when it's flooding. It's not just the water, it's the shit in the water. Pallets, stripped wire, mobility carts, there's dirt bikes back there, mopeds. I mean, you get caught up in that shit, you're done.
A shadow system of places that expanded silently as rents soared and paychecks froze. Down here, it's peaceful, says a man who has called the tunnels under the Las Vegas Strip home for years. When the city forgets you, the tunnels don't. Across the country, more than 500,000 people experience homelessness on any single night. That figure has risen every year since the pandemic, driven by skyrocketing rents, untreated mental illness, and the synthetic drug epidemic.
When I try to wrap my head around the fact that I was down here for 3 years and it was normal, it seems foreign. Heroin is not a social drug. People come down here to be forgotten. I came down here to be forgotten.
This film enters that underground America, tracing how it began, how it survives, and the people working to bring light back into the darkness.
We're not supposed to live in these tunnels. It's dangerous. We had a girl die last February in the floods. At least I have something over my head and people aren't robbing me every time I fall asleep.
Las Vegas, the city under the Strip. Up top, Las Vegas never shuts down. The Strip blazes around the clock, flashing lights, constant noise, billions of dollars floating through the night. But only a few feet underground, a different world exists in total quiet. Beneath the casinos and resorts stretches a huge network of flood channels over 300 miles of concrete tunnels running under the desert city.
I'm currently homeless. We kind of just move from place to place as we can. Lately it's been raining, so we haven't been really in the tunnels. So we just kind of just move around a lot.
When storms hit these channels, rush with deadly flash floods to protect the streets. When the water recedes, people move in. Down in the dark, beneath the city of chance, hundreds have made places they call home. They set down pallets to keep mattresses off the damp floor. They hang blankets as walls burn candles for light. They create small pockets of ordinary life books, pictures, little radios picking up faint music from the world overhead. Almost nobody down here ever meant to end up this way. Some lost everything in the recession. Others fight addiction or mental illness. Some just ran out of places to go. One man tells us he once worked in the very hotel now standing directly above him. He says, "I used to wear a suit in those corridors. Now I sleep underneath them." Every summer, monsoon rains roar through the valley. Water can fill the tunnels in minutes, sweeping away possessions, sometimes lives. Still, many come back once the channels dry out. It's not comfort that holds them here. It's the feeling of belonging they can't find on the surface anymore. In the tunnels, there's no rent, no stairs, and for a few quiet hours, each night, no chaos from above. Just concrete walls and the steady drip of water. Some mark their spots with spray-painted words of hope, love, or rage at a city that looks away. Others leave no trace at all. Outreach workers and volunteers sometimes climb down with food flashlights and storm warnings. They know getting people to leave is hard. For many, the tunnels feel safer than the streets. The strip stands as the ultimate sign of money and escape. Yet right beneath it lies proof of what happens when that dream falls apart. When the lights dim and the machines go quiet, Las Vegas is really two cities, one dazzling on top, one invisible below. Los Angeles, Skid Row, the city of tents. 300 miles west of Vegas, the crisis plays out in plain sight. Downtown Los Angeles hides nothing. Everyone sees it, almost nobody really looks. A short walk from the shiny high-rises sits Skid Row 50 blocks, where people without homes have turned the sidewalks into bedrooms. It's one of the biggest homeless encampments in the country. Lines of tents run along broken concrete. Tarps, blankets, carts, and bikes stitch together a city born of need-not blueprints. Privacy is gone, but the community still survives. By day, people drift between mobile clinics and meal trucks. At night, voices mix with sirens and the hum of lights that never dim. It's loud, messy, and very much alive. Skid Row isn't one story. It's thousands of lives tangled with addiction evictions, mental health struggles, old wounds, and sometimes a choice to stay. A woman outside her tent says she landed here after her rent jumped overnight. She tells us, "I still work part-time. I pay taxes. I just can't pay for walls and a roof." For years, city rules have funneled poverty into this one zone. Luxury towers go up a few blocks away, while Skid Row stays the rare spot where people aren't chased off every couple of hours. Some call it containment, others call it the only place left to breathe. Outreach teams walk the streets with water-clean needles and Narcan. Church groups pass out food socks or a kind word. Every bit helps, but the need swallows it whole. At night, patrol cars roll through slowly. City crews show up with heavy equipment to clear tents and trash. By morning, people set everything back up again and again. Skid Row is both a warning sign and a reflection. A warning that the housing market is broken, and a reflection of a society drawing hard lines about who matters and where they're allowed to be. A 10-minute walk north, tourists drink lattes and browse shops. Here, people wait in line for a shower or a hot sandwich from a van. Two worlds divided by a couple of streets and a thick wall of indifference. Even so, strength lives here. People split meals, watch each other's stuff, mark birthdays, and grieve together. When everything else shakes, community is the one thing that doesn't. One man says we may be homeless, but we're not hopeless. Los Angeles has poured billions into fixing Skid Row. Maybe the first real step isn't fixing. Maybe it's finally listening. Seattle and Portland reign, cold and tent cities. Way up north, rain is just part of the routine. In Seattle and Portland, it pours more than half the year, cold, constant, unforgiving. For anyone living without a roof, that rain controls everything. Under overpasses, beside trails, behind old buildings, tent cities spread through the gloom. Blue tarps gleam with water under faint streetlights. Smoke curls from fires burning in rusted barrels. It's a scene that moves every few weeks. One camp gets swept, another pops up somewhere new. Out here, staying alive means staying dry. Keeping clothes from turning to sponges, grabbing warmth in a transit center for an hour or two, stopping shoes from freezing solid overnight. A woman in Portland shows us inside her tent piles of blankets, a sleeping bag sealed in plastic, a tiny propane burner. She's lived here since her landlord sold the house she rented. Nothing else was in her price range. She says quietly, "I'm not an addict, I'm just broke." Every tent has its own history, but together they spell out one big reality. In the Pacific Northwest, homelessness isn't hidden anymore, it's impossible to miss. Whole neighborhoods now share space with encampments. Parents walk kids to school past lines of tarps and makeshift homes. City halls try tiny homes, extra shelter beds, endless meetings about rules. But the need always outruns the fixes. Sky-high rents, fentanyl, and meth, and almost no mental health care have built a storm no one can outrun. Volunteers roll through after dark with socks, propane canisters, bottles of water. They know everyone's name, everyone's story, everyone's birthday. For some folks, they're the only steady thing left. In Seattle's brutal winters, little things decide who makes it. A hot dinner, a dry blanket, someone who actually stops and talks. Still, even under all this, gray people build community. They split whatever they have. They pitch tents close for protection. They watch out for each other when somebody goes missing. The rain hits everybody, but out here it's more than weather, it's a test. A test of how long people can hold on, how much a city cares, how far we'll go for the ones with nothing. And when dawn breaks as fog rises off the highway and the tents shine with dew, it's impossible to miss both the heartbreak and the stubborn strength living side by side. The causes why people fall into the dark. Nobody dreams of sleeping on cold concrete. Nobody grows up hoping to live in a tent or a flood tunnel. So how does someone slip through the cracks in the richest country on earth? The reasons are layered, and they go way beyond personal mistakes or plain bad luck. They're about systems that quietly broke down over decades. In the US, housing costs have skyrocketed faster than almost any other developed nation. Since 2010, rents in many cities have doubled, while paychecks for lower-wage workers have hardly budged. The numbers just don't work anymore. At the same time, mental health budgets got slashed across the country. Psych wards shut, neighborhood clinics vanished, and patients were discharged to the sidewalk with no follow-up. Addiction rolled in behind it, first prescription opioids, then fentanyl, 50 times deadlier than heroin. In most cities, rehab beds are almost impossible to find, and waiting lists stretch for months. So the street turns into both a shelter and cage. But it's bigger than individual stories. Zoning rules block cheaper housing. Builders chase high-end condos while cities ignore the need for truly affordable units. Evictions climb, safety nets shrink, and one lost paycheck can send an entire family over the cliff. A recent survey showed almost half of Americans couldn't handle a surprise $500 bill. In real life, losing work or getting sick isn't a bump in the road. It can be the first step into homelessness. Every city faces the same brutal math: not enough homes, not enough help, always too late. People on the street get blamed for being there, but studies show most of them were housed and stable once. They had jobs, cars, kids, rent, until one crisis set off a chain they couldn't break. For vets, it might start with PTSD. For women, an abusive partner. For kids aging out of foster care, it's often just nowhere to go. Homelessness isn't one issue. It's 100 smaller failures crashing together. And when someone finally ends up in a tunnel or under an overpass, it's almost never one dramatic fall. It's years of quiet battles nobody saw. We talk about solving homelessness like it's a broken machine. But homelessness isn't the machine. It's the mirror showing every crack in the rest of the system. To really see it, we have to look past the tents and face the policies that created them. Only then can we ask the tougher question: what kind of country lets this many people vanish while everyone's watching? Rays of hope, light in the dark. Even in the bleakest pockets of America's cities, small lights still flicker. They rarely hit the headlines. They don't wipe away the suffering or shrink the crisis. But they count. Every single day, volunteers hit the sidewalks and tunnels with flashlights and meals. They know everyone's name. They mark birthdays. They keep showing up even when progress feels invisible. Some hand out sandwiches and water bottles. Others run mobile clinics parked along the freeway. Some simply sit and listen because being truly heard is the first step to being seen again. On a freezing Seattle night, a volunteer kneels to pass a man fresh socks. He grins and says, "You'd be amazed what dry feet can do." All over LA, barbers drag folding chairs to the curb and cut hair for people who haven't seen their own reflection in months. In Vegas, outreach crews head underground before every storm, shouting warnings, hauling belongings to safety. In Portland, kitchen crews push through the rain to deliver hot food straight to the camps. None of this ends homelessness. But it creates trust, and trust is the starting point of every comeback. Some people do get out. A woman who spent 5 years under a bridge now staffs a shelter, guiding others down the road she just traveled. A Skid Row vet got sober, landed an apartment, and now drives the supply van back to the block he once called home. These aren't miracles. They're evidence that recovery happens when someone refuses to let go. Behind all the stats, hearings, and arguments, it's easy to lose sight that every number is a human being, someone's brother, mother, kid. Every tent holds a life still in motion. Every tunnel holds someone hoping to be noticed again. Hope here doesn't crash in with fanfare. It slips in quietly, one gesture at a time. A hot plate, a warm blanket, a voice that says, "You still count." And sometimes that's all it takes to begin the climb back into the light. Closing the hidden America. Under the wealthiest cities on Earth, a different America survives. It has no high-rises, no street signs. It never appears on any map. Yet it's real quiet, stubborn, undeniable. From the flood channels under Vegas to the packed sidewalks of Skid Row. To the drenched encampments of Seattle and Portland, millions drive past this shadow country every day without ever noticing. It's easy to look away, to stare at the neon, the towers, the shiny progress overhead. To tell ourselves homelessness belongs to someone else's mistakes. But this isn't just their story. It's ours about the priorities we set as a nation, about what we treasure and who we're okay leaving out. For years, we've treated homelessness like a broken part we can replace. Maybe it's really a wound that needs steady healing attention and heart. Every city hall debate, every sweep, every tent thrown away means nothing until we face one harder question. What kind of country are we putting up above those tunnels? Down below, people aren't waiting for sympathy. They're waiting for a real chance. For connection. For proof there's still space for them up top. A man in Las Vegas told us we live under the city, but we're still part of it. That might be the truest line in this whole film. Homelessness isn't a number, it's a mirror. A mirror of our housing policies, our healthcare, our economy, our compassion. And mirrors can shift, if we're brave enough to keep looking. The people in tunnels, tents, and on the pavement aren't invisible. They're just unseen until we decide to look. Under America's richest cities, another city has been breathing all along. Maybe the first move toward fixing anything is finally looking down and seeing the lives that never left.